Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We will be departing to 4 countries. So get ready and enjoy your trip.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Renadia, your flight attendant for today. We would like to say welcome aboard Flight 453 bound to China. We would like to thank you for choosing to fly with AirAsia today. Please ensure your seatbelts are securely fastened, your seatbelts and tray tables are in their upright position, and all electronic devices are in airplane mode. Welcome to the country of China, a nation full of tradition and rich in history. For your information, China is also a country actively engaged in economic activities and production. Let us all learn about the economy, specifically regarding inflation. The question asked is a low or high inflation rate an absolute indicator of an economy in a good or bad state? Explain. Neither a low nor high inflation rate is an absolute indicator of an economy's health. It depends on several factors, including the causes of inflation and the broader economic context. Here's why. As for low inflation, the positive aspect is price stability. Low inflation maintains purchasing power and provides stability for consumers and businesses. The negative aspect is deflation risk. Very low inflation can signal weak demand, leading to deflation, which is falling prices, which may cause reduce in spending and investment. As for the high inflation, the positive aspect is economic growth. A moderate rise in inflation can occur in periods of strong economic growth and increased demand, which may be seen as a sign of a thriving economy. The negative aspect is erosion of purchasing power. High inflation reduces the value of money, leading to higher living costs. In conclusion, the ideal is moderate, stable inflation that aligns with an economy's potential. Central banks often target 2% of inflation rate as a sign of balanced growth. Thus, inflation should be viewed alongside other economic indicators like unemployment, GDP growth, and productivity to determine the overall health of an economy. I think I smell ramen. I will pass the next presentation to Julia at Korea.
Kamsahamnida Nadia for your clear explanation. Good morning. Annyeonghaseyo, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome aboard Flight 453 bound for Incheon International Airport. I am Julia Aisha, and on behalf of AirAsia and our dedicated crew, we sincerely thank you for choosing to fly with us today. It has been our honor to serve you, and we hope you had a pleasant journey. Now we are in Korea. Welcome to this developing country known for its technology and rich culture. Today, we will be discussing 2 types of inflation, demand pull inflation and cost pull inflation, and how they relate to the article we are looking at. Specifically, I will address the question, what types of inflation can we identify and explain based on the article? Let's start with demand pull inflation. This type occurs when demand for goods and services exceeds available supply, which causes price to increase. The article shows how inflation fell during crises like COVID-19 and the global financial crisis due to reduced demand. Now, when demand increases again, price rise. This is called demand pull inflation. A great example of demand pull inflation was after the pandemic when people rushed to buy goods and travel again, but supply chains were still recovering. This mismatch led to a big jump in prices. The World Bank reported that global inflation hit 3.5% in 2021, mostly because demand grew fast while supply was still low. Now, let's look at the cost push inflation. This occurs when production costs increase and businesses pass these costs on to the consumers. A key example is from the IMF, which found that during the pandemic, higher shipping costs due to supply chain disruptions made imported goods more expensive to cover their increasing costs, leading to inflation. Another example of cost push inflation is a fall in exchange rates. The article explains that during the past crisis, the Malaysian ringgit weakened, making imports more expensive. This caused prices to increase. For example, during the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the ringgit lost nearly half of its value, leading to a sharp rise in the cost of imported goods, which pushed inflation higher. The article also mentions disinflation, which means inflation is slowing down, but the prices are still rising, just more slowly. For example, inflation fell from 4% to 1.5%, but living costs haven't decreased. A study also shows that even as inflation drops, everyday prices like groceries in the US remain 25% higher than before the pandemic. Despite inflation falling to 2.9% in July 2024, lower inflation doesn't mean prices will go down. In conclusion, the article focuses on demand pull inflation, showing how inflation changes with demand during crisis. It also discusses cost push inflation, including import costs, as well as the effect of a weaker currency on the prices. Lastly, it mentioned disinflation, where inflation slowed down but prices continue to rise. That's all from me. Thanks for listening. Wait a minute, I'm super hungry right now. Kunafa sounds good. Kaja to Saudi Arabia and meet Putri. Annyeong!
Marhaban. Thank you, Jila, for an amazing explanation. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please call me Putri. If you need any assistance, I'm ready to help. Welcome aboard Flight 453 bound to King Abdulaziz International Airport. We are now in Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil producer and leading oil exporter. Without further ado, let's learn the policy measures that could be effective in controlling rising inflation in Malaysia. The first policy is no policy. It's a policy where the government or central bank does not get involved in the economy. This means they do not change in interest rates, taxes, government spending, or money supply. This approach has a big impact on inflation. Without any intervention, wages and costs may change. If inflation continues, workers will ask for higher pay to manage the higher cost of living. This causes the prices of resources to go up. As production costs increase for businesses, the total amount of goods and services they produce goes down. Although this eventually leads to full employment again, it happens at a high cost of living, and prices for things remain high. For example, as inflation rises, Malaysian workers in areas like manufacturing and services may want higher wages. Because of this, the average wages in Malaysia could go up by 10% over the year to help cover this increased living cost. The second policy is fiscal policy. It's a policy where the government uses spending and taxes to affect the economy. By changing how much money it spends and collecting taxes, the government can either encourage economic growth or slow it down. Based on its goals, fiscal policy can greatly impact inflation. For example, if the government spends less money or raises in tax, people will have less money to spend. Higher taxes means families have less disposable income, leading to lower consumer spending and reduced demands for goods and services. To illustrate, let's say the government increases taxes. This means families will have less money available. Because of these, they might spend less on things that aren't necessary, like eat out less often, or delay vacation, cut back entertainment, and others. This change results in a noticeable decrease in spending across different areas, which help control inflation and stabilize the economy. The third is monetary policy. Monetary policy refers to the tools used by a country's central bank to manage the money supply and encourage the economic growth. This includes decisions about how much money is available in the economy and how it influences inflation in the economy. For a contractionary of monetary policy, central bank can increase amount of reserve requirement. For example, let's consider when the central bank increases the reserve requirement from 4% to 6%. This means banks must keep a larger portion of their deposits as reserves, leaving them with less money to lend out. As a result, the overall money supply decreases to control inflation. Then the central bank increases the charge of discount rate to commercial bank. With less money available for loans, this would cause interest rate charged by commercial bank increases, making it more expensive to borrow by consumers. This decrease in lending to consumer and lead to reduced spending and investment. Besides, central banks sell securities on the open market to reduce the amount of money in circulation in the economy. While expansionary of monetary policy will undergo the opposite. Thus, it will definitely help to control inflation in the economy. Now, please enjoy your sweet, colorful macaroons served by Alia, only in France. Shukran, ma'as-salamah.
Bonsoir, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alia and I will be your flight attendant today. On behalf of AirAsia and the entire crew, we would like to welcome you aboard Flight 453 bound to France. We truly appreciate you choosing to fly with us today and hope you have a comfortable and enjoyable journey. Thank you again for flying with AirAsia and we wish you a pleasant flight. Now, we are in France. France is a diverse and culturally rich country in Western Europe, known for its historical landmarks, art, cuisine, and scenic landscapes. So, please make sure that you are enjoying your sweet macarons here. Now, we will discuss about the potential consequences of a prolonged reduction in inflation. The potential consequences of a prolonged reduction in inflation can be both positive and negative. However, it is crucial to consider the broader economic context and the specific factors driving this trend to fully understand its impact. First, we will focus on the positive consequences. Two positive consequences are increased purchasing power and competitive exports. For increased purchasing power, when inflation decreases, the purchasing power of consumers generally increase, meaning that people can buy more goods and services with the same amount of money. For example, if the price of groceries remains stable or decrease, a family can afford to buy more food or save money for other expenses, thereby potentially boosting overall consumer spending. For competitive exports, lower inflation can make Malaysian goods more competitive internationally if the currency remains stable, which can boost exports by making Malaysian products cheaper for foreign buyers. For example, if the price of Malaysian palm oil remains low compared to other countries, international buyers might prefer to purchase from Malaysia, increasing export revenues. Now we will focus on negative consequences. Two negative consequences are debt burden and deflation risk. For debt burden, lower inflation can increase the real value of debts, meaning that the amount borrowers owe doesn't decrease in real terms. For example, if a person has a fixed rate mortgage, the real value of their monthly payments remains the same, which can be a burden if their wages do not increase correspondingly, making it harder to pay off debt. For deflation risk, if inflation falls too much, there is a risk of deflation, where prices start to decline. Deflation can lead to reduced consumer spending as people anticipate lower prices in the future, which can slow down economic growth. For instance, consumers might delay the purchase of a new car or electronic in hopes of getting a better deal later. In conclusion, while a prolonged reduction in inflation can lead to increased purchasing power and more competitive exports, it also poses a risk, such as a high debt burden and the potential for deflation. Therefore, it is essential to balance these outcomes carefully to ensure sustainable economic growth. Last but not least, we hope you enjoyed all parts of our presentation along with the delicious meal provided during the flight. We hope what we presented has helped you gain some knowledge. Merci!